Hey everyone, I'm the Canadian lad and today's video is about why you might have enjoyed Avengers Infinity War more than Avengers Endgame. Now no way I'm gonna degrade Endgame to praise Infinity War or vice versa, but I'm gonna give you 5 reasons why Infinity War owes its credit to Endgame. Number 1. The pace of the movie. Almost no one disagrees that Infinity War had a better pace than Endgame. Infinity War had the luxury of being a nearly standalone movie. It was set up as a quest film, where the protagonist has a clear goal of acquiring all the Infinity Stones. Because of that, Infinity War rarely slows down, if ever, whereas Endgame had to show us the repercussions of events that took place 5 years ago. Imagine if Endgame began without really showing us how the Avengers are trying to cope up with the huge loss they had 5 years ago. If they hadn't shown Thor getting fat because of his PTSD, the scenes where he gets motivated again by his mother wouldn't have the same value as it has now. Now if you argue both of these scenes are not necessary because it's slowing down the tempo of the film, I'd say take into account what Thor has gone through in his life. He has literally lost everything he could have lost, and at the end of Infinity War, half the universe had to lose because of his ego. Thor is God of Thunder, not immortal. He also gets affected by things happening around him. In Thor: The Dark World, half the premise of the movie was Thor being depressed because of the absence of Jane Foster in his life.
Nothing out of order except your confused and distracted heart.
This isn't about Jane Foster, Father.
You'd be better served by what lies in front of you. I'm telling you this not as the All-Father, but as your father. You're ready. Time has come for you to take the throne. Join your warriors. Eat and drink. Revel in their celebration. At least pretend to enjoy yourself.
So it was clear from the very beginning that Thor can be affected mentally by things happening around him. And when I said Thor is not immortal, see what Odin said to Loki for considering himself as a god.
I went down to Midgard to rule the people of Earth as a benevolent god. Just like you.
We are not gods. We're born, we live, we die, just as humans do.
Give or take 5,000 years.
Another scene where Steve Rogers tells Black Widow to see the bright side of what's happened. Black Widow explains that she had no other family besides the Avengers, that she became better because of this job. Now without this scene, the sacrifice made by Black Widow wouldn't have as much as depth as it has now. She literally gave her life to save the only family she cared about, the only family she thinks has made her better. So even though this sort of scene slowed down the pace of Endgame, but it was essential. Whereas Infinity War had a very few character moments and really dealt with the antagonist most of the film. Number 2. Sidelining some of the characters. Captain America had very little to do in Infinity War. The movie could afford to do that because Endgame is the next chapter and was set up as the movie that will do the emotional heavy lifting. Also worth pointing out is that they were both filmed back to back, so the Russos had a clear plan in place. Sidelining a major character like Captain America was possible because of what was about to be unfold in Endgame, and Cap getting lesser screen time allowed the Russo brothers to give us more of Iron Man, Thor, and Doctor Strange, and whoever didn't get to shine as much in Infinity War showed their worthiness in Endgame, quite literally, perfectly balanced as everything should be. Number 3. The freedom of storytelling. The writers had twice the freedom of storytelling in Infinity War. For example, the scene where Thanos throws big chunks from a moon towards Iron Man, the writers were able to explore this insane idea of someone throwing a moon was because Thanos' power had no limits in Infinity War, but they couldn't do the same in Endgame, where the main spotlight was on all the Avengers and Avengers only. Endgame isn't about how great the villain is. That was already done in Infinity War. Endgame is more about how the heroes can improve and work together in order to defeat such a strong and powerful villain. And whenever we see abilities and powers of a new villain on screen, it's always more enjoyable than watching a hero, because a hero fights to save, but a villain fights to win. He fights in ways that are unconventional, but he doesn't care. That's why Infinity War was able to keep you at the edge of your seat just because of how incredible the villain was. Number 4. Tension. In Infinity War, the stakes were constantly changing and that made it more engaging to watch. Endgame has a similar problem to The Dark Knight Rises. For a long time, it feels like the stakes don't change at all. Until 2014 Thanos appears, there isn't anything to lose for our characters. But this again brings the repercussions that Endgame had to show us in order to move forward with the storyline. When Endgame was at the point where the time heist began, that's where the movie begins to pick up its pace and the stakes start to change, eventually bringing 2014 Thanos in present time. Number 5. The battles. Infinity War had not one but many battles. The Battle of Titan and the final battle in Wakanda. Even the scenes leading up to these battles had fighting sequences, so smaller battles were leading up to bigger ones in Infinity War. The word war is literally in the name of this movie, and a movie that has action scenes of this magnitude is bound to keep the audience glued to their seats. But Endgame is a bit more dramatic, a little bit darker than Infinity War. Instead of having smaller battles to build up to the final climax, Endgame offers a huge final fight at once. These are the main 5 reasons why Infinity War feels like a better movie than Endgame. But judging these two movies side by side, Endgame comes on top, primarily because whatever luxury or freedom Infinity War had was because of how everything was going to pan out in Endgame. Remember, both of these movies were written together, not like they wrote Infinity War first and then waited to see how the audience perceives the film. No, they wrote everything at once, and that's why it's fair to say Infinity War owes its pace, tension, storyline and everything else to Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame is a rousing tale of love, friendship and sacrifice. It was an immensely emotional experience for fans that have been on this journey from the beginning. I'm sure there are many arguments to be made in favor of Infinity War, but in the battle of logic versus emotion, emotion wins. Endgame is the better movie because it taps into our emotions and takes us on a journey we're not likely to forget for a while. Now if you like this video, please click the subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you never miss any updates from my channel. I'll see you lads on the next one.